Hi, everyone. So welcome to this session. I'm Alyssa O'Neill. I'm partnership lead here at Split Metrics, and I'm really thrilled to be joined by Shah from Appsflyer for our session today, which is AI meets emotion and top creative optimization trends for 2025. We're really honored to be a close partner of Appsflyer and have Shah join us today as well. Fun fact, Shah and I actually used to work together at Appsflyer, so we sat across the desk from each other for many years. So it's especially exciting for me to have her be a part of this as well. So today's presentation is going to be all about building winning ads, and it's all grounded in Appsflyer's data from their most recent creative report. Really looking forward to hearing how Shah's insights, and I think everyone's going to walk away with some really good practical takeaways. So whether you're a UA manager on the brand side or on the performance side, I think this is going to be a great session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Shah to kick off with her presentation today.
Hi
Over to
guys.
you.
Oh, thanks. Hi guys. I'm Shah. I think I was asked to do a little bit fun fact about myself. So I'm actually a boomerang here at Appsflyer, and I don't know if anyone else uses that term, but it means I left and I came back. So I left for about 2 years, and in that 2 years, I traveled with my husband, and we actually did a cross-country trip across the U.S. and went to 35 states. And maybe later I'll tell you guys which one was my favorite. So today we're going to talk about creatives. To give you a little bit background, um, with the privacy evolution, strong creative strategy has become even more critical, right, for the success of a campaign. So our data shows that creative is the main lever that most marketers use when it comes to optimization. So today we'll be looking at how AI can be used as a tool for your creative development process, where to use it to help you scale your work, and also where you shouldn't. So, before I jump into the content, I like to poll the audience really quickly. So, can we set up the first poll right now? All right, so the question is, do you work on a gaming app? Yes or no? All right, we'll give a few moments. All right, I think this one's an easy yes or no, so let's see the results. No, okay. So 26% said yes, and 74% said no. All right. Well, gaming advertisers are actually among the most advanced when it comes to AI-driven creative workflow. If you look at the entire mobile gaming sector, the ethos, there's a lot of pressure to get attention quickly and keeping that user engaged, not just with their ads, but also within the product. So, oh, all right, actually, Alyssa, I'm gonna do this. So Alyssa actually hasn't seen this yet. Um, I kind of want to get your gauge on like what this means to you and what emotions does it woke for you?
Um, Good question. So it's a dog's paw. I think it brings confusion. And I guess I'm intrigued as to what this could be about.
Yeah. So what this is a hook. Something that catches your eye, something that makes you stop and look at it more than a few seconds, right? Either way, you're curious about it. So in this case, you're confused, you're curious. It's something that is necessary for all creatives, especially in the era of scrolling. So every piece of content, a deck, a blog, a guide should have some sort of hook. All right, so what we just looked at in the last slide is called curiosity and mystery type of hook. And this is part of many different types of hooks that we identified in the creative report that was released a couple months ago. So in the report, we looked at over 1 million creatives with about 1,300 apps that totaled almost 2.5 billion in ad spend and did an analysis using AI to uncover the patterns, emotional triggers, and user motivations that separated the standout ads from the rest. So I've only listed two other types in addition to curiosity, but there are many, many more, such as comparison, storytelling, instant gratification. But let's take a look at another example here. Oh, I need to click. Perfect.
Love stories start on Heart Me all the time. Movie magic not included.
All right. So that's an example using AI to kind of get that curiosity. It's a very, slow type of ad. Um, you're trying to look at her, seeing what she's looking at, and then you see him. So it's a very, very quick, fast ad, but it grabs your attention. All right. So the next one, can I? Oh, sorry, guys. I think there's a lag here. So the next one is motivation. And they are very diverse, like excitement, competition, discovery and gaming, security and trust, deal seeking and finance. We have community and belonging, monetization and growth in social media. So let's watch this ad showcasing a time
This
saving.
app creates the perfect logo for you in seconds. Let's say I type in the logo I want to create and hit create. I instantly get a bunch of stunning logo options. It's unbelievable how creative this AI is. If you want to make a logo, try this. You won't regret it.
All right. So next up is going to be outcomes. So this is another category in gameplay outcomes. So in gaming, this can mean demonstrating pure success. It could also be someone cleanly solving a puzzle, failing at first and finally solving it. So let's watch a video here on what that looks like.
Scientists recommend playing this game to reduce stress. How old is your brain? Playing this game, you will have to find as many hidden words as possible in a very engaging format. Train your brain by solving word puzzles. Just 10 minutes spent in the game allow your mind to concentrate, fully relax, and relieve stress. Download the game right now and play for free.
All right. And the last one we're going to talk about is UGC, which is user-generated content. Um, and this is a type that varies from testimonials and reaction videos to unboxing videos. If anybody has kids, you'll know that there's a lot of unboxing on YouTube, and also motivational storytelling. So this is a quick example of gameplay review by user.
Let the race begin. Now, you never want to go too early like my opponent just has. Just a little more rolling and go. Oh no, I rushed it, but it's okay. I've made it much further than him, so just a little more. Come on, come on, come on. Let's go. This is perfect. He's so far behind, which means I can take a lot of time to roll my ball up. Okay, this should be plenty, but is it gonna be enough? Yes, it's been a good match, but this game is mine.
Bridge race, play now.
All right.
Can I jump in for a question, Shah?
Yeah, of course.
These are awesome, and I love the video examples, but I'm curious, what inspired Appsflyer to dig into emotions in this year's creative report? Because I think this is slightly different to previous reports you've done.
Yeah, that's true. So it's actually because of what the data pointed to. So really, it's not just about what ad has a better edit. It's about the motion that it evokes from the user, and we see that across the board on the data that we gathered. And I did just speak about UGC types, and there's something called an ugly ad, where it's unpolished, it's raw, right? But it's authentic, and the users feel safe. So it builds that trust. So yeah, when you look at the data, the strongest performing ads weren't the polished ones with nice edits. They were the ones that told a story, that elicit emotions from the viewers. So it really was the data that showed that emotions won over everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
Actually, this is a really good time for me to ask a question to the group. So I'm going to do another poll. And this is really to ask you guys, which creative trends excites you most for next year? And for those that aren't familiar with this, I'll just go over them very quickly. Emotion-driven personalization. What does that mean? It's creatives that adapt to the emotional state or emotional trigger of the user. So a fitness app might show you, a motivational push to a user who hasn't opened the app. But if you've been on that fitness app for, a couple of days, they might give you a celebratory message about like having a workout streak. So that's the first one. Second one, generative video. I think a lot of us know what this is. So example would be like a gaming studio uses a generative tool to auto-generate trailers for different regions, each with cultural relevance, characters, or music. Adaptive storytelling. It's a choose your own adventure in ad form. So it's a series of ads that has a start, middle, and end story. And then synthetic influencers. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but it's basically virtual personas that are created. It's AI, it's not a real person. Yeah, so Alyssa, I don't know if you have one.
Oh, I was going to ask you the same question. Do you have one that excites you the most for the next
Yeah,
year?
I of course emotional driven personalization is going to be big
Hmm.
because it's gonna pull in those emotions from people. But honestly, what actually excites me, and it's more about me being curious, are the synthetic influencers. Mostly because I'm curious about how they've impacted people and how much influence they actually have. There's actually real engagement with them, and it draws brands, which is really, really funny. Um, oh, I just got the poll, and synthetic influencers has the lowest amount. It's 9% versus 50% emotional driven personalization, which is perfect because um, that's really what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But
I have
yeah,
to agree, though. I think synthetic influences is fascinating, but maybe not
yeah,
something I'm excited to use if I was a marketer. But yeah, definitely exciting to see where it goes. But
yeah.
I saw an influencer that didn't exist participate in Wimbledon, and people had a huge following. She was apparently there courtside, but actually she was a fake
Wow.
influencer the whole time. So yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. I think there's a recording artist that actually has a recording deal now, and she's an AI. So anyways, but it looks like the winners, emotional driven personalization, adaptive storytelling, generative video, and the last one was synthetic influencers. All right. I think that just shows how much we're still really excited about AI, but we're also maybe a little bit nervous about what it can create. Um, great. All right. So let's go to the next section, which is key findings on creatives for this year. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into our report. We actually did this in conjunction with Dentsu and Meta, and they provided us with some great insights into how creative performs, which I'll get into later. But first, let's take a look at some of the findings with Appsflyer data. Some of you may be surprised. Others who work closely with creatives may resonate with some of this. All right. So we like to split performance between gaming and non-gaming because it's very, very different. So we'll look at gaming first. The graph you're seeing is the number of creatives produced by the amount of spend on creatives by quarter. There's a huge surge in creative output in 2024, and it continued to grow this year, but it's uneven, as you'll see with the graphs. The big spenders on the right, the apps that spend more than 7 million a quarter, are making 3 times more than these mid-tier, which is in the middle, and up to 6 times more than the lower tier apps. But overall growth is actually slowing. We see the top tier creative production rose just 8% year over year, with mid-tier actually declining from last year. All right. So the next one is going to be non-gaming. So non-gaming, the story is actually very different. Apps are scaling across the board, not just the top. Top advertisers are spending 1 million, who are spending a million, plus increased output by about 22% year over year. Even smaller players are showing gains. This means non-gaming advertisers are catching up fast, and this matters because these brands are now competing head-to-head with gaming apps for attention. All right.
Quick
And
question before you move on to this one. You said that gaming is obviously ahead of the curve in terms of creative optimization. Are there any learnings for the non-gaming apps that you could that they could get from the gaming side?
yeah, I think one of the things that gaming advertisers did early on was to separate the different elements within the creative. So in gaming, I think it's a little bit easier because you can look at a red car and put that red car into different backgrounds and see how that does. So the concept of breaking down a creative into elements can be used by non-gaming advertisers. And another point of data for them to use for insight into performance. So that's one.
Awesome.
All right. All right. But creative winners are still the key. I think this is what we're showing is that 2% of all creatives drive about 50% of spend in gaming and 43% in non-gaming. And I think this is one of the biggest takeaways that we have from the report is that this actually decreased from last year. And this means that a lot more budget is actually going into iteration, as we saw before. The amount of creatives is increasing, but even so, you still have that 2% creatives that drive most of your performance. Cool. So the most effective creatives to go beyond showcasing gameplay or listing app features, right? They evoke emotions. They answer not just what the app does, but why it matters. The takeaway is logic grabs attention, emotion drives action. So emotion is what gets people to stop and look. So emotional storytelling is actually one of the 4 items that Meta, who we did this report with, found as a key ingredient in building a winning ad. So the other 3 were creating video ads in 9 by 16 with audio. So this actually takes up the entire screen, include a human presence, and also add text overlay to maximize the message impact. And when Meta and Appsflyer looked at the data, we found that the campaigns using this combination saw a 16% lower CPA, a 29% higher conversion rate, and 11% greater reach across reels, feeds, and stories. So that's the winning combination is emotional storytelling, video ads in 916 include some type of human presence. It might be AI if they get better and doesn't look like synthetic influencer, and then also text overlay.
Was there anything that genuinely surprised you or like contradicted your expectations in doing this report?
Yeah, I think so. There's a good amount of things, but the main one that surprised me is actually how uh, uneven the creative volume was across the different spend groups for gaming. Um, that it actually shrank for the lower spenders because we predicted that AI would democratize creative volume, across the board, but our data didn't show that. So AI did increase volume, but only for the companies that already had the processes in place to iterate fast. Across the board, it definitely helped flatten the field between gaming and non-gaming, but within gaming, you see the big spenders break away from the pack. So, yeah. All right. So the next section is how to read the report. So we know it's a volume game, right, with creatives, but how does that relate to actual performance? How does it impact your lower funnel metrics and what type of data should you be looking at to get those insights? So in the report, we've sliced the data across share of cost, IPM, which is installs per 1,000 impressions, and retention. And I'm going to provide you guys with 2 use cases. So the first use case here is actually gaming. For this example, we're looking at casual games For the motivational types, we're going to look at a story. So think gaming that has a lot of plot that you want to follow along, which means there's some character development in the creative itself. You can see the share of cost is low, but we see high IPMs and moderately high retention. So what does that mean when you put it all together? It tells us that this creative works, but probably with a small segment of users. So it's probably a high quality creative that could mean, but it could mean that it can't really scale. So the second use case is we stayed within the motivation type. Share of cost is high, so a lot of these types of ads are in the market. We see IPM is low and retention is low. What does that mean? It's not effective. It could be creative fatigue or oversaturation, but this is really the starting point for evaluation when it comes to looking at the data. All right. So I'm going to go really quick through this because I want to talk about what non-gaming apps should do. And I'm going to just share this on the screen. For photo video, the spend is not always aligned with performance. Take tutorials versus testimonials. They currently see equal ad spend, but testimonials outperform on both IPM and day 7 retention. With dating, casual dating themes, swipe for fun, but users are motivated by serious relationships that have higher day 7 retention. Finance, this is not intuitive, but we actually, with finance, we saw that emotion really drives. So we really want to build trust. Social media, last but not least, this category reveals actually a really big opportunity. So top performing creatives, formats, tutorials, and app reviews deliver way stronger IPM and significantly better day 7. All right, so I'll get the key takeaways. Understand your users. Don't overlook long tail. Diversify creatives per media, which means that, you know, your social, what you put on social might not be the ones you put on the networks. All right.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for this, Shah. I have I think we have time for like one more question at least. So if someone's looking at all this data from you today, what is a practical next step that you would recommend to take this data into action?
Yeah. Honestly, I think for practical takeaway, you can run a quick focus test, right? By using the different types of labels that we just went over in our report. So for each creative, label the story type. Is it failure to succeed? Is it pure success? The emotional tone, the format. Look at the 3 metrics we used for the use cases. Share of cost, IPM, and 7-day retention, and try to answer the question, which emotional stories are working? Which ads are underperforming, but still have the majority of the spend?
See, awesome. And then I guess, is there anything on Appsflyer's side that you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a creative optimization tool, and that is actually really helpful for um, those companies that might not have the time or the budget to iterate on the creatives, because it actually shows you which creatives are doing well, and it basically saves you all the time and the analytics that you need to do, and then you can actually push that to Facebook and other networks to build it. So yeah, but
Awesome.
yeah, one of the things I do want to say, like a takeaway, is earlier I was saying how gaming advertisers are really advanced when it comes to AI. Um, and what's happened is that it's because there's a lot of pressure, right, with these gaming advertisers to get attention quickly, keeping the user engaged, not just with the ads, but also within their product, the actual game itself. So it makes sense for them to have a lot of dramatic visuals, action-oriented messaging, and variations to combat ad fatigue. Now with AI, specifically Gen AI, it gives the non-gaming advertisers, 75% of the audience here, the ability to quickly adopt the same format and tactics that gaming apps pioneered. So It really allows non-gaming advertisers to have equal footing when it comes to creative sophistication. And another thing I want you all to take away from this is not just to iterate. I think iterate is a big key thing to do with your creatives, and that, you need to evoke emotion with your ads. It's actually about balancing human creativity and business context with the AI and machine learning. We're all marketers here. I think, we're all creatives here. We don't want to replace our intuition with AI. We want to use it as a tool to expand it. So, yes, it's true that AI can now solve like the very long-standing bottleneck of creative production. But what hasn't changed is the limited number of hours in a day to win someone's interest and hold it. So we just did our very first fall release yesterday, and Barack, who is our chief product officer, said, while AI can technically scale infinitely, human intention cannot. And that's what I leave you guys with.
I think that's an awesome takeaway. Thank you so much for sharing the insights. I think, yeah, what I've learned, it's really interesting to see the gaming versus non-gaming data. And I think one of the key takeaways, like you said, is that it's not AI versus human, but it's AI plus human, as we often hear. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing all the insights and for everyone joining today as well. I hope everyone enjoyed the session, and any other questions, please feel free to share them our way.